Whoa, excuse me. Hello, alive and well, and welcome. Blessings, greetings to all of you. I am your intrepid host, Mr. David Null, also known as Hawkeye Two Feathers, my Native American shaman name. I greet you with blessings and honor and compassion to all of you. And I know we're all in this kind of similar boat together. We're all on this planet at this time, and oh boy, the stuff going on. Now, I've had some recent conversations with some of you most beautiful people, my subscribers, and other folks. I'm not sure if they were subscribers or not, but hanging out in the chats during, you know, some of my live streams. And I mentioned in last night or the day before or something, anyway, that I was going to do a video about mental illness and so forth. And in some of my many videos that I've discussed, I have talked about my own personal mental illness and my struggle with drug addiction, alcoholism, and you know, anger issues, and I have opened up my heart, soul, and my emotions to discuss this with you because I think it's important. In fact, many of you are have shared or are sharing many similar traits, even to this day. And so it's like, it's a real hellhole. Now, I'll just bring up this quickly, as I have referred to before. I am currently not on any type of antidepressant or anything like that. Nothing that is am I taking that's supposed to be altering my brain waves in any way. I take a couple aspirin every day. I've had my back pretty much broken, and my lower back. I fell one story and landed backwards like this across an A-frame of a scaffolding that I was working on. And no, I didn't fall. The scaffolding, whoever put it together, didn't do a very good job, and part of it came apart, and I fell because of that. It wasn't because of my stupidity or whatever. It wasn't my fault. But anyway, the injury still took place. So I have every right to be taking opioids, and I've been through many things. Hey, tinfoil, blessings to you. So I've been on all kinds of medications, from Prozac to this Zac. I've been to 7 different neurologists. I've been pumped full of chemicals to make me glow in the dark so they can do brainwave tests and so forth. I've been in and I've had the lights flashing and everything. And in one of my conversations, I was discussing earlier that, the last time I went to a neurologist, they changed my medicine up, took me off of a medicine I'd been on for like almost 17 years for seizure control. And they threw the old flashing lights on me. Hey, Rick and Lady Jackson, please, blessings to you, both of you, always. You guys you folks are the greatest. I'm just saying, you really, really, really are. And you helped me, by the way, you guys showing up. You all helped me to make these types of really difficult types of videos to discuss personal feelings and things that happen. Well, since I was on the other night and we were having this discussion, and I said I need to make a separate video about this. Well, I went in and it did a little bit of we've got strange things flying around in the house again. There was nothing here, but it just showed up on camera. That's a real one. Okay. But anyway, I did a little bit of prehistory about psychiatry. And let me tell you, psychiatrists really haven't changed any. Now, I was in the mental health machine for, I'm not joking, 40 years. I mean, I've realized, looking back on it, it had to do with severe head trauma, which I had playing football, other things, car accidents, just stuff, kids, we were playing in the backyard and somebody threw a brick and hit me in the back of the head. Well, it kind of, made some changes in my brainwave activity. Now the folks look at that kind of stuff and they go, "Oh man, you had a concussion." I've had a bunch of concussions. And that's not bragging, it's just fact. What is all this mess going on here? Things trying to start on my computer that I wasn't asking to be put on my computer. Sorry about that. All of a sudden, things started changing on my and turning on here, notices and things. It really would. It usually doesn't happen. Anyway, my apologies. So, but let's go with this mental illness thing. Anyone who was different was considered a witch or something. Now, if we really want to put this in a proper perspective, the Salem witch trials had a lot to do with mental illness by the people who were claiming people to be witches and by the people who were being called witches. Because if they did something different, they thought that those folks were mentally ill. All right. And so this has been going on for a long time, but it's usually been the church that's been the persecutors. And then when the church quit being the main persecutor of people and the mental illnesses and so forth, I mean, there are videos of people back in the 20s and 30s and even into the 50s and 60s where they would literally hold people down and drill holes with no anesthetic or anything, and drill holes in their brain because they felt that it was bad blood and that they would literally bleed people. There was one particular psychiatrist, get this now, not having anything to do with psychology, but psychiatry. And these folks are psychos. Let's start with that right there. I have met a bunch of psychiatrists over my lifetime, and every one of them were nuttier than a fruitcake. They were more crazy because they had the badge and the degree and the power of psychiatry, but they were worse than some of the people that they locked up. Me being one of the people they locked up in an insane asylum. Well, we think you're crazy. What? Because I'm trying to have a conversation with you. I feel these things, they come true, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so it's like, all right. So now there are different people going to, mental health. And I've had this discussion in some of my videos before, but I've got family members and friends who, and I understand because I used to take those medicines. I felt like there was no way that I could make it through the day without somehow taking these drugs. And they convinced me, society convinced me, and I was their flipping guinea pig. I mean, seriously, I've talked about this, but here's my point in all of this. A point came up in my discussion about the mental illness and about, the drugs and so forth, and my being triggered by, the strobe light that they use to try to get you to have a seizure. And I mean, you go to a doctor, and what do? They strap you into a chair and they bombard you with flashing light to see whether or not you're going to have a bad reaction. It's called torture. It hurts. I've talked with other people who've had these same things, and at the moment I can't remember the name, but I can damn sure feel it, and I've told people I never knew that flashes of light could physically hurt me and that I would feel pain. I mean, excruciating pain, like I was literally being lit up all over my body. And that microwave, however you would like to portray it, a horrible, horrible feeling. Now, other people that have had the it's not an MRI. They try to make you have a seizure to check you out, and they check your brain waves. Anyway, y'all know what I'm talking about. Well, when they do some of these things, it's not just all a piece of cake. They have to stimulate your brain to act abnormally so they can check it against the normal brainwave things. Now, here's one of the things that I've found out while being a patient and being tortured, I might add, is that they have a particular pattern. They have certain benchmarks when your little brain waves go up and down when they attach all these electrodes to your head and so forth using special salves and things, but that they put them on you, and so they have a baseline of what they consider normal. All right, so here's the bottom line, here's the top line, and if for some reason you don't quite hit the bottom line like I did, they accused me of faking a grand mal seizure. Not once, not twice, but 3 times they accused me. This is 3 different visits with the same test, with getting worse results. And they threw me out of the office and refused to see me anymore. That's the truth. It was a neurologist down in Valdosta, Georgia, which, like I tell people, don't go to this son bitch, he's crazier than hell. But at the same point, this is what neurologists do. This is what psychiatry does. All right. They send you to a neurologist who puts you some of these paces. Then they give you these mind altering drugs and they flash these lights at you. Then they get you to the point where you're almost epileptic and you swallow your tongue and start having grand mal seizures. I'd never had a grand mal seizure. All of mine were petit mal or narcoleptic type of events. And when they changed the drugs on me and put me through the flashing light syndrome again, like for the 10th time in 15 years, the reason they rejected me for my disability was because with the low margin and the high margin in their scientific studies, my brain waves during those times, even though I was seizured out and couldn't function, some of the lines in my get up and gizmo weren't hitting the bottom line. I wasn't hitting the bottom baseline. So therefore, all these intelligent doctors with PhDs, and which means piled higher and deeper, made the determination that because I was a fraction of an inch below their baseline, it's okay if you go above their top end, but if you don't hit the bottom end, you're not included in the study, and they throw you into the waste bin. They say, sorry, whoever you are, Mr. Patient 105 for today, that'll be $200 for me to tell you it's all in your head. Well, yeah, duh. Change your medicine up, take you off of something else, do this, do that. Okay, fine. Mental illness. Now, why am I giving this? Because I'm giving history of what flashing lights do with the drug interactions. Now, here's the next point. The drugs themselves, these things are being triggered with lights. Now, I've done a little bit more research since I was on talking about this before, and let me extrapolate a little bit on this information. Here it is. For everything that someone's looking at on a cell phone or on this screen here, things are flickering, lights go up and down the screen. It goes light to dark, and then it'll brighten up again, and it's like, okay, what is all this? All of these things are affecting us, whether you wish to believe me or not about this. But if you will, and don't ask the doctors, ask the patients of the doctors how they feel after these tests are done. Ask the patients who used to have normal lives and now sit in the wheelchair and drool. Oh, wait, maybe some of them can't answer because they've had their brains destroyed. Now, back in the 40s, 50s, 60s, they literally would do a frontal lobotomy. And they would, in some cases, literally lift up your eyelid and poke a screwdriver into your brain and wall it around a little bit and then pull it out and say, you're done. Now, if you've never heard of a frontal lobotomy, do a little bit of study. Now, this was common practice, what they did to people. people who didn't quite fit in with the rest of society, whether it was they heard voices or angelic voices, whatever it was, unruly people, have a vivid imagination, used to stare out the window during class. How many have, they don't put windows in classrooms anymore, by the way. Just saying. Wonder why they did that. So you can't look out the window and be distracted. You have to look at a wall. The windows are all high up and everything's air conditioned. I digress. But to the point, though, that now things in our lifetime, we have bells and whistles and sounds and ultrasonic sounds that we don't hear. But when I had my cell phone and I had my little Sasha dog, I would notice sometimes the phone would make a noise and the dog would pick up, but I didn't hear the noise. So there are ultra high frequencies like a dog whistle that only animals and dogs and other creatures can hear. So anyone, and I know so many folk, and I'm not bitching at you, but I am. If you don't turn your cell phone off at night, oh my gosh, there's just so much going on, and always, unless you're going somewhere and you want to be tracked, never turn on your GPS. It's always beeping. It's sending out a signal. It's a tracking device. But the thing is, it's sending out a radio frequency and a wave in order to pick up the satellites or whatever. And so if you have your GPS on, it's always pinging something. And if it's anywhere within arm's range, it's pinging you. Okay. These are facts. This is what's happening. So now someone who's got a mental illness, you're depressed, you're this and that, and you legitimately have an issue. Now, look, I've suffered with depression and mental illness, so I'm speaking about myself, but it's kind of sort of in the third person on this. So, but you go into the therapist, all right? This is how mental health works. You sign up, you go in and you see the therapist. You discuss the thing, you do to that, and then he has a little thing and says, well, now we're going to send you into the psychiatrist, because the psychologist my hands off to many of the psychology folks I've met over the years. Thank you. To the psychiatrist that I've met over the years, I say, y'all go to hell. Stay there. Please don't come back. I'm sorry, but these folks ruined my life. I've seen them ruin other people's life, turn people from functioning individuals into literally, no, you folks don't get off scot-free, And here's the thing. These folks got to know what they're doing. They can't be just, well, that's just a side effect. And because I don't know of anybody who's been to a real psychiatrist who's been healed. I've been to therapists and people have been cured of one thing or another, but you go to a psychiatrist, you might as well stick a screwdriver in your own eye and do your own frontal lobotomy. Now, what about this triggering effect? Now, I've discussed this before, but I'm going to go into this some more, a little bit more in this particular video. Now, a lot of things will trigger me because I am susceptible to that. I've had 25, yes, I'm serious. I've had 25 serious head concussions that knocked me out in my lifetime, all right? And I've had a lot of other bangs to the head where I literally see the squirrels running in the cage kind of deal, okay? Not my fault, just odd things happen, just, okay. And yes, I wear a hard hat on many occasions, a bike helmet actually, but anyway. But to the point, though, so that I'm susceptible to this, but I have spoken to many other people while in waiting rooms with other mental health patients and folks with, different types of neuropathy or whatever, different types of mental conditions through, concussions or whatever. And so these are my observations, but it's shared with a lot of people that I've met over the years. I mean, like in 50 or 60 kind of people, sit around the campfire and like, discuss medications that we've had. And well, did this one help out your seizures? No, it made me worse. Well, then they did this to me. And yeah, okay. And I mean, we used to have a club back about 10 years ago where there was about 12 or 14 of us. We all went to the same mental health play, and we were all part of the same theater group. Like, okay, takes a crazy person, but to the point though, we are people who thought differently from the norm. So therefore we seem to be susceptible, and society told those of us, okay, so there are a bunch of us in theater who went to the same mental health group. Were we crazy? Some of us. But we all had an issue that we wished to correct, whatever the feeling was. And as an actor or person in the theater, we were like, this is unnatural to me. I know what unnatural is because I have to be a 28-year-old man that's married to a sea monster, and I have to act a part. But at the same point, when things are acting in our own minds that we don't feel we have control of or didn't have control of, then we obviously are crazy, and well, you're too talented, you're over talented. Oh, the excuses they give. So, but by comparing notes though within each other on the same medications, well, how did it make you feel? Then they'd change. Everybody got changed up to the same time. Once a year they would like do this thing, and that's why I gave up. I was like, wait a minute. And then when I gave up on the mental health, and I quit taking the medicines they said were going to help me, I realized that the whole damn thing was a sham. Now, I keep getting off topic with the triggering, and I wish to stay on it. But my point in talking with other people are also these 12 to 14 people who are I considered my friends. We hung out. We went and did coffee. I don't drink, but some of them would have a drink and make them kind of crazy on the meds they were taking. But to the point, I quit being an alcoholic, and once in a while I'll have a shot of something, but that's every once in a while. But I was drinking 3, 4, 5 beers a day, a couple of shots of rum or some Jack Daniels, or I was an alcoholic. Didn't realize it at the time, but in retrospect, very much so. Now, so I realized this, and in speaking with these other people, we were all being triggered by the same types of things. That's why I brought that up. And all of these friends of mine, we all had very, very similar triggering effects. And that was back 12, 15 years ago when they first started the commercials where they were doing the flashing lights. HDMI was still pretty new. We still had some CRT screens around. Flat screens were just starting to catch on good. And, so technology took a leap. But when technology took a leap, so did the graphics and so forth on all of the television sets. And instead of being 32 frames per second, now we have 60 frames per second. So what we may have noticed in the old days in the old black and white television, you could almost see the message. And yes, they put messages across the screen back in the old days in black and white television. They even made they passed a law about it, which they ignored and have changed around anything. But anyway, so 60 feet per second of images now in the HDMI is really easy to hide. Now, most people don't think of the brain as like really paying attention. Even when you're just staring out the window, your brain's picking up all kinds of stuff. You just don't realize it. And I've talked to people, about the fact that when you do meditation, you must speak it out loud so that your subconscious hears it. There's another part of the brain that's listening and paying attention to that. And you want to store what you wish in that part of your brain. And it's stimulated by voice and by inflection and so forth. It really exists. It's very important. That's why chanting and sorcerers and, that's why it works. That's why these things work, chanting it out loud so the subconscious can hear. All right. So take this a step further with the mind control. Why are some of these people acting like sheep so badly? And in the conversation the other night, it dawned on me, it is the music, but it's not just the music in itself. There's something in the music that's triggering certain individuals to crave it, like cocaine, like your favorite alcoholic beverage. Okay. And I had mentioned in the other video that it seems like, and I've thought more on this and tried to do a little bit of research and haven't really found anything, except that in my meditation state, it's like, Dave, you're onto something here. Hip hop music and rap music, people don't turn it on low and put it in the background. It's just not done. It always has to be at a certain particular volume. And I think I'm convinced within myself that there's something about the volume that is in whether it's intentional or not. I can't go there because I haven't been able to really put a sure enough, yes, this is happening thing. But in retrospect and looking through some of the things, why are people so drawn to this? Well, some of these folks are they're taking ecstasy and other kinds of pills. And so who knows what's in that stuff, right? And you get it off the street, and it's even worse than the pharmaceuticals you get. But people are taking this stuff and they're being triggered. They're flashing lights, the boom, but the boom, the loudness. And I'm just suggesting that is a big time mind control. Whether it's done specifically on purpose, it is there. And that people who hear certain things got to turn it up all the way, got to crank up them headphones. Next other thing, the lights. People who are taking some of these drugs, why do they react to certain ways that they do? And all I can say is that they're looking through their cell phone. The lights are flashing. There's a beep here. They check this, they check that. And I'm like, what are you doing? What does that little device really flipping mean? That you be, as you're walking through the store or walking through the parking lot, that you have to focus on this device. Something has got you mind controlled. You've been sucked into whatever it is you want to call it, the matrix, the this, the that. It doesn't matter what you want to call it. You've just been hoodwinked. Now, I've talked about, that commercials and people doing the fast flashes and things. There is a lot of study in neurology and things about certain swirling lights and so forth. And it's like, oh my God. And so the more people are watching this stuff, they're on mind-altering drugs. Family members, dear friends, a lot of them are still on these drugs, have been on them for many years, couldn't live without them. And so, but each one of these folks that I know, also, when I try to speak about some of these subjects, they go, what? And it's not that they're stupid, and it's not that they don't have the mental capacity to be able to understand some of the things that I'm talking about. It's that they just, what? Their brains are in a mush state. And I absolutely firmly believe now, after more, and I'm going to continue studying this and doing some updates, but the more people have their face stuck into a device, the more mind controlled they are, whether they wish to claim, to be the adult in the room, if you will, to be the grown up in the room and admit it. Oh my God, this thing really is taking away my time. I can't live without it. I turned off my television set for 2 days just simply because I said I could. I can turn it on. There's not anything in particular I want to watch or do. That's not the point. I had been like 2 or 3 days with it on, had fallen asleep for 24 hours. And I don't know, it played about 30 different episodes of McHale's Navy. I'll have to go back through and watch them. But to the point though, I was like, what? And I realized that I just needed quiet time. And, but now other folks need more quiet time actually than I do. I mean, just as a matter of reference, because they are on all the time. They have their device on all the time, checking text, checking this, checking that. Oh, there's a new app. Oh, the bell dinged. And all of these things are triggering us, you know. And I've watched my dear friends, you know, put your phone down. Oh, a noise came out of and they pick it up. They don't know what the noise was. Well, that maybe that's a ding, or maybe that's a something. Ding, they have to pick it up. So they are these folks, my dear, lovely friends and family and so forth, are hooked on these things. Now, I look at it and go, okay, now what hooked them? It's got to be the flashing lights and the drugs that they're on, because many of my friends are on some type of Medicaid, some kind of pharmaceutical. And other folks, well, they've just had the device for so long, they don't really need a drug to trigger them, because it's the device itself that has the control. And so when people want to say, well, it's MK Ultra, well, welcome to the world of cell phone these days. And if you act like this, like so many people that I don't know, and they look at me dead in the face and go, Hawkeye, I'm not addicted to it. All right, my friend, put it down. Okay, fine, it's good. Let's watch a movie. Okay, fine. Bzz, ding. So I said, put it down. We're going to watch a movie. No, I'll answer this. All right. Well, hello. Now, I'm trying to watch a movie. I want to be involved for the next hour and a half. I want to be drawn into the text and the context of the movie, and I want to eat my popcorn. And hello, they texted me. Oh, I'm still watching the movie. This is 3 minutes into the movie, okay, and so it's like in the next 15 minutes they have decided that they're just going to keep the phone on their lap. 15 minutes into the movie, and I'm like, I give up. But you're not mind controlled. Has nothing to do with your cell phone. Has nothing to do with the lights and the bells and the sounds that are triggering something in your brain that you must act upon right now. What's that got to do with mental illness? Well, ladies and gentlemen, guess what? That is a mental illness. Now, I'm trying to be the grown-up in the room here and say, I know y'all don't like to hear this stuff, and it's a difficult subject to discuss. But I've watched it. I turned my cell phone off to see what would happen to me. I went crazy for 3 weeks. And then I realized, wait a minute, I don't really miss the damn thing. And it saves me money to boot, which money I don't have. So it's like, okay. But for other people, and I'm not saying to throw them away and never use them again, but I'm saying that people don't understand that they're being mind controlled. It's by the lights, the different changes in the light textures, and whether or not you're on any type of pharmaceutical, the pharmaceuticals just enhance it. It makes it even more difficult to put these devices down. And I'm saying cell phones in themselves are creating more mental illness. What did you say, Dave? Yeah, think about it. People are always trying to access something, and when they don't, they get a feeling of panic. Or, well, I got to read this story. Well, there's one thing, and my little cell phone and my little tiny little Chrome box thing here, it's not really a computer, but the thing is, download some stories and read them. There's nothing wrong with that. Rather than carrying around a bunch of bulky books, I can carry a little sticker around with thousands of stories and books and things. Okay. So yeah, it's got its points, but to the point though, I can close the lid willingly without going, oh, you're going to make me shut it up. No, it's time, ding. But I've learned to understand, and I've to stand up with myself and say, Dave, too much of this is dangerous. The lights flashing, to me, it's triggering things in me because of the difference in the the screen around this thing right here is flickering in and out, and it's having whether it's just some liminal thing or whatever, it's having an effect on my brain. I can get done doing one of these live streams, And if I allow myself, now I have to, if I avert my eyes, even though the light's still hitting me, I can put up a little barrier, and I've learned how to do that. It's like sometimes driving down the, folks who have issues with light sensitive issues. When you're driving down the road at night and one of these clowns comes by with these super duper bright lights, and I'm like, holy crap. I've learned how to not necessarily look away, but focus away. And so that the light's still there, but my focal point is different, and it helps. And it has kept me from running off the road when some of these guys on low beam, try to wipe us off the road. But anyway, especially rednecks around here with them, fog lights they love to drive with. So, but so the trigger effect to people. Now, the fact that people now have these high definition television sets, and that all of the new graphics and everything are all following a particular pattern. There are swirls in the lights. There are flash, 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 flash. And I've noticed in watching some of these, now this is the introduction to the news, okay? Even Alex Jones does it. And I'm like, well, what's the pattern here? Come to find out that sometimes there is a pattern. I've watched when it first comes on, they'll do this thing and this will flash, 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 and this thing rotates. But when they come out of a commercial, they'll use a different one. And the flashing isn't the same. So it's like, okay, well, why are they changing things around then? Why wasn't that first one good for after the commercial break? Well, it's something else. Well, wait a minute though. It's because they're sending us a different message. That one is the intro. And being in radio and everything, there's the intro, there's the middle, and there's the outro. At the end of the program, blah, 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 and it trails off. So intro, mid themes, whatever, and then the outro. Well, but these people are changing this up, but they're changing it up with flashing lights, bells and whistles kind of deal. Okay. We have no clue what they're doing or what that message is. But in so many words, it looks like to me sometimes they're trying to send some type of SOS kind of message into my brain, like flash, flash, pause, flash, pause, flash, flash, pause, flash, flash, flash. Weird, strange. What are they doing here? Okay. So now I want to bring this up because this is triggering more mental illness. Because they're doing these things, whether on full purpose or not, these things are affecting the brain. And we can slow some of this down simply by turning off the devices more, especially those folks who are having depression issues and things like that. Please turn your phones off for a while. Please take your focus away from them. Untrigger your brain. If I'm watching and I can't watch CBS News anymore, but the morning show with all the thingies and the swirls and the blah, 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 I refuse to watch the intro or the outro to these things, okay? Because they have triggered emotions. And instead of me going with their program, I'm pissed off before the guy or lady even starts to spout off whatever it is, some kind of, democratic liberal crap, and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, stuff I used to listen to when I was on their drugs and when I was watching all the bells and whistles. Now that I'm off the drugs and now that I have not been watching them, I am not being triggered the same way as I was 4, 5, 6 years and before. But in the last 3 years, especially, I have taken myself off of these drugs, away from these types of, flippy, flashy, blah, blah, blahs. And I've noticed an extreme change in my own mental clarity. I mean, I can have conversations here. I repeat myself on occasions, but I'm running off. I don't have no script. This is all extemporaneous speaking. This is information that I have inside my head that comes out. And I couldn't even speak 2 years ago, hardly, let alone make a YouTube video. But to the point, though, I am personally better. And because of what I understand and the light triggers and the sound triggers, I can stay out of the mess. Now, there are so many people who don't understand that there's a mess. So these people are caught in a trap. They're being the sheeple. Somebody asked me in an earlier video today, Dave, what do you think about this? And do you think, the sheeple will wake up? And I was kind of looking at over the many years, why aren't these people waking up? Well, some of them are on, legitimate psychiatric medications, and some of them are on legitimate, opioid type things for pain. Some folks are on different kinds of, heart medication and so forth. I've been on those things, and let me tell you, they made me feel so crippin' freaking weird. I said, I'm sorry. Let me figure out how to lower my blood pressure without taking these flipping pills. Okay. Just here to tell you. And I quit taking them. I got 3 full bottles of different types, varieties for my blood pressure that my doctor said, if you don't take these, you'll be dead in a year. Well, it's been a year and I'm not dead yet. So there you go. But to the point though, and I don't have any heart problems, or I don't have any. Yes, my blood pressure is probably a little high, but I need more outdoor activity. I know that, but I'm dealing with other issues. I mean, I couldn't stand up straight 3 years ago. I mean, this particular cane right here, I couldn't even walk to the bathroom without it, and it's right behind me. I haven't used this cane and I can't remember, but it's there in case I need it. So it's like brain wise, I don't fall over like I used to. I mean, I was all the time bumping into shit and falling down on the floor. I mean, hurting myself. That doesn't happen to me anymore. And it's because I quit taking their drugs. And I understand that these lights and the bells and the whistles will trigger anomalous behavior within my own person, within my own brain structure, whatever it is. And so my point to this is, now I understand what they were really doing to me. They were turning me into a sheeple. I believed I was a full Democrat. I was full non-Trump. I was full, didn't want to vote for Hillary, I got to say, but I was going to pick an independent or something. But to the point, when I left that regiment of mental health, I just started seeing things more clearly and understanding things. And then that's when I started, being prompted to discuss this on YouTube videos and Facebook and so forth. Let's have a discussion. So many people are going to be sheeple because they don't know that they're sheeple. They don't know. They just think this is groovy. This is what we're supposed to do, isn't it? Somebody asked today, what about disclosure? If they pumped out disclosure tomorrow, and I was like, and I thought about it since I finished up that video, and I thought about it, and I said to myself, Dave, I said, these people, they're not going to get it, because whatever's been triggered into their brain, whatever the bells and the whistles and all this, whatever's happened is just, it's disconnected something. Whether it's logical thinking, whether there's too much information, and I think there's a lot to be said about the overload of information. So people are constantly, ooh, let me check my tweets, or ooh, let me check who's on Facebook, and give yourself time to do it. I'm not saying give it all up, don't ever do it again, but come on. There are people who eat, sleep, drink, breathe Facebook still. And the Twitter accounts and things. And I mean, it's like they can't live if they don't have it. And one of the things I talked about earlier in video today was about the after effects of the hurricane. In my questioning of people around here, what did you learn most about after the hurricane? Oh my God, that my cell phone doesn't work. And everything was related to cell phone, television for the kids. We couldn't play the DVD player, that kids and parents alike didn't know how to react with one another. One lady told me, she goes, I've got 3 kids and I had no idea how devilish these kids were until the lights went off and the TV was off and I couldn't get, and I was like, what? And she was like, they in 2 days' time with no lights, my three kids like to drove me nuts. I was ready to sell the youngest one or something. I mean, she was joking, but not, you know? And I thought to myself, oh my goodness. So the lights went out and you didn't have any electronic devices and y'all couldn't get along. I mean, and people were at each other's throats after 2 days and I'm like, they weren't talking about missing toilet paper. They weren't talking about, not enough water or this or that. They weren't talking about being hemmed in with down trees. They were talking about parents and kids, and we were so bored and we didn't know what to do. And all the conversations revolved around cell phones and or some type of an electronic device that they could watch or listen to. Now, I miss my radio. I don't care if I have this to watch or, tune in. Sure. I mean, I like to check in on what folks are doing and participate. But I mean, there are days when I use my computer as a radio and I carry it out in the yard and I listen to the radio. And because some of the stations I can't get on my personal radio here over the regular radio wave. So I use my computer as a radio station and I love it. And I miss that. But out of everything else, it's like, well, yeah, I miss checking on my friends on YouTube videos. And yeah, I miss, but I wasn't in a panic. I had books and I had batteries. I had candles. I had plenty of things to entertain me. Now, I don't have 3 young kids either. But the thing is, I would have found it in the old times. Okay, kids, let's go camping. Let's do this. We don't have any lights. Let's go out and build a fire. Let's go do something. We would have done something. But to have all the people that I talked about, I don't know, 20, 30 people, making comments in line. How was it? Blah, blah, blah. They basically all had about the same kind of, experience. Oh my God, the cell phone / home entertainment thing. Now I got the same feeling, but this little computer here and my Hulu account are my 2 biggest enemies. But I miss the radio more than I miss the television. Just saying. So it even affected me. All right, I'm being honest here, but not to the point where I was going nutso. No, I was just like, wow, it sure would be nice to be listening on such and such. Sure would be nice, blah, blah, blah. Okay, fine. And that's as far as it went with me. But other people were literally yanking out their hair and wanting to sell their kids over this. So, and so they want to say that, well, I'm not being triggered by this. Well, you were having withdrawals, my friends. No, I wasn't. Well, what did you just spent 3 minutes telling me how bad it was, but you're not addicted to the cell. No, I sure wish I'd had it though. My kids and all they could do, and I couldn't play my music. That's your cell phone and oh, well, but I'm not addicted to it. And then they would go back on some more spiel. And I just sat there with a nice smile, not trying to condescend, but snickering inside going, yeah, you're not addicted. So what does this bring up about sheeple? I don't think that, I mean, I'm seriously beginning to look at the situation and go, these people can't understand. There's been, honestly, we look at ourselves and around and say, there seems to be a disconnect here. I believe since the advent of these sure enough cell phones, and let's throw in the frequencies and all the other stuff, okay? But I'm just talking about the brain, the eyes, the ears, and our interaction with a device without going, nuclear on the rest of the stuff. But that has a lot to do with it as well. Because you have a device that's transmitting and sending all the time. These waves are around you just like this one is, and I keep my distance. That's why I'll use it as a radio versus keep my nose to the grindstone and have the thing, next to me all the time. I do not put it in my lap, even though I seriously doubt I'm ever going to father any more children at my age. That's not the point. I don't want gonad cancer. I don't want cancer in my groin or in my legs. I got enough troubles at 66. Why should I invite them? And there are people who don't even read the instructions that come with their computer. Don't put it in your lap for extended periods of time, both for the computer and for you, and the women who stuff it in their bras. And then they wonder why the breast cancer is up. But because of these devices, people have a disconnect. And I think there is a direct association. I tried to well, it's just the cell phones, and yeah, they couldn't put them down, but I really wasn't making any kind of connection that they're using these devices to keep us dumb, to keep us as sheeple. Oh, here's a bunch of information, tra la la. But the device itself has triggered something in the brain for these people to just go, huh? Oh, there's nothing wrong. Oh, okay. Oh, spaceships are real? Oh, okay, let me look it up online here. Oh, look, there's a cat playing with a ball of string. They're going to revert right back in. And when you look at the news media these days, okay, last week it was the bombs, and then it was the shooting in Pittsburgh. I'm not trying to make light of it, but there was so much information about all those bombs and everything. It's like, it just seems rather implausible. No postage marks on the stamps. I mean, a lot of weird stuff. Okay. But that's okay. But see, folks are like, oh, okay. Now this is the next weekend coming up, and we're on a different subject. Oh, well, this and that, and yada, 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 yada. Okie dokie. So we've got as a society, we got the attention span of a gnat. And people who use these devices on a regular basis, who are on Twitter all the time, are connected into this. Now, let's take it another step further and say, in 1838, they were discussing quantum physics. How about that? I thought it was more in the 1900s. I didn't know that it was almost 200 years old. 175 years ago, they were doing this stuff, talking about the quantum. Now, those who are in the dark societies that have had this, quote, information, this insight to these things for the last 175 years, who are just now kind of like bringing it out to us. They're talking about the quantum this and the computers and CERN and yada, yada, yada. They've had a 175-year head start on a lot of people. And a lot of people still like quantum what? Well, kind of, sort of. Your cell phone is sort of work. That device you won't put down, it's kind of working in the quantum. Just saying. But you don't want to know about that. Okay. And because cell phones are operating the way they do with frequencies, with towers and transmissions and pickup, it is acting in a lot of ways because of the vibrations and frequencies in the quantum. So now what if one of these smart quantum computers has got a little agenda? And what if that quantum gets picked up by certain cell phone type of frequencies? Just saying. So that some of these things that happen, the cell phone vibrates, you react immediately. You don't go, well, I'll get that in a minute. Most folks, the first thing they do is reach. It's been programmed into us, or you, because I don't use one anymore, but to the point though, and I'm not trying to be rude, but seriously, this is like big time mind control. And folks want to deny that there is mind control. That's number one. Number two, if you don't think that this isn't, then you're being mind controlled as well. You are part of the problem. You are in it. Call it the matrix, name it whatever you want to name it, but you are being mind controlled. Got to have it. Got to answer it. Got to text. Got to Twitter. Got to do. Got to. Okay. And at the same time, if you're on these medications, I would bet you that there is a tie-in because they experimented on me with drugs. Like, why would they give a new drug to a neurologist and say, here, we want you to try this on all your new patients, and we want you to do the flash and light test to them and see how many people have seizures. You don't think that guy wasn't part of this study? I look back on it and go, I would really like to punch the guy in the nose. He took 3.5 years away from me. Totally pulled the rug out from underneath my feet. Damn near killed me. Now, here's the thing. He's doing it to other people. He's still practicing. All right. And he's not the only one. The psychiatrist and the other neurologist who are in this crazed, we're going to do this with chemicals. They're giving us all lobotomies. We don't know if they told us the truth. We have been electronically / chemically with nanobots from the planes and the chemtrails. All of this together has literally lobotomized, look it up, lobotomized most Americans to where if they are shown the truth, I don't think they will be able to comprehend. I'm seriously having doubts about this. And it's not because they're not paying attention, but there are other things involved. And I'm putting it out there for discussion. We can have a discussion about it further, and I'm going to keep my eyes out. I'm going to do continue the research, but from all aspects of the way I'm looking at it now, to answer the question, why aren't these people waking up? They can't. They have been programmed. They are being continuously programmed. And when you leave your GPS on your phone, you're constantly being monitored. Okay. Even without the GPS, you're still being monitored. But that's, we understand about that. But here's the point. We need to be kind to our friends and family. And we need to start slipping this conversation in. That's really a form of mind control. It's not about you not having a phone. It's not about you not talking to your friends. This is about some serious stuff here. These folks have programmed you without your knowledge. Please, just let me plant that seed in your head. Do it nicely, do it politely, do it calmly, but plant the seed. Do you know you may be being programmed right now because you use your cell phone so often? Just saying, there's a study out. You don't have to quote it. Just plant the seed. Don't argue with them. Just go, well, I realize myself, I have trouble putting my phone down, and use yourself as an example. But if we start planting the seeds with people, you mean they could really are? Well, wait a minute. What did you do constructive yesterday? Well, it was a little hot outside and I was on my phone. And what'd you do? Well, I listened to a program and I downloaded some apps and I fiddle farted with this drawing thing and played on the phone and texted some people. No, what did you do yesterday? That's what I did. How productive was any of that? And it doesn't mean that you have to go out and build a shed or dig up, an acre of land and plow it and plant it. No, that's not what I mean. What of that you did was constructive in any particular way other than just fooling around? Now, maybe you were constructive and you sent somebody that was feeling bad. You sent them a smiley face and get well soon card. That's positive. Okay. But the rest of the time you were downloading apps. See, I've done this. I've been here. And then I realized, what are they doing? They're stealing my time. They're giving so many choices. And I did a video about choices and how many choices we have. And so they're bombarding us with choices, which keep us distracted. And it programs us to look for the next best application. Ooh, what's new? I used to do it all the time. Ooh, what's new today? Blah, 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 blah. Oh, well, that won't work on this phone. Oh, that's okay. That looks cool. And at the end of the day, nothing had gotten done. Now, being retired, it's like, well, but I didn't really have anything to do, but I could have went out and cleaned a half a row of weeds out and planted some mustard seeds. I could do that. I could have went and did this. Instead, I chose, well, and before I knew it, 3 hours had passed, and well, it was too late to do this or that. And I ended up wasting an afternoon because of my cell phone. Been there, done that. And my point is that people don't even realize that it's happening to them. And when we ask what's wrong with people not understanding, just take a look at what they're doing. Where they carry in their phone, how often are they using it, how quickly do they grab it. And the thing is that 75% of America is grabbing for that damn cell phone at some point, somehow, somewhere. So that's a programming issue. They're being programmed not to pay attention. They're being programmed to be distracted. They're being programmed to go along with the chaos. In other words, ooh, let's go through what kind of new app that is. Well, then that's a down one. I read that guy's comment and I don't like it. And you replied and you've wasted time. What did you actually do that did any help to anything, even to yourself? You just squandered away time watching the screen flitter fly with the lights flashing and the sounds if you got them turned on, and you've just been programmed again. It's the truth. Be the grown-up in the room and raise your hand and go, okay, I see the logic in this, and you may have a point. Now, if you're just going to argue this fact 100% that I'm just a whack job, that's okay too. We all understand that you've been programmed, and we will continue to pray for you and that you will see the light as well, because that's what it's all about. Rather than bitch and complain with folks, we need to say, hey, there's an alternative to that. Let's you and me have a conversation. Maybe you can sway them off. There's a lot of things we can do as human beings to help someone see that there's a better way of something, of how to do something, how to look at things, okay? And for those people who already have a mental illness, please consider cutting your medications at least in half if you can. Skip a pill every now and again. They tell you, oh, don't do that. Well, and if you can, get off of them altogether, because there are other ways to deal with panic attacks, with, confusion. The voices in your head might actually be the angels trying to get in touch with you, because maybe you're a very special person. I know when I quit taking them, I could start hearing the true angel messages, not confusion. The confusion that I had was corrected because the angels came in and go, don't freak out about that. Look at it like this. I asked their help. They came in. If I had been on those drugs, I wouldn't have been able to have that communication and deal with it in a natural way. Now, I know some people are going to, you don't just quit taking them. You got to wean yourself. You got to be careful. You got to be kind to yourself and what they're doing with these medications to your brain. But do your best and try your best to get off of them. You'll be glad you did in the long run, especially if you seek some positive help with, therapy helped me a lot, because I needed someone to bounce off some of my ideas. Why am I having these dreams? Why do I get this feeling? Why does this trigger me? And it's like, hello, Marie and everybody else, Rick and Delaney. Yeah, you need Delaney. You need music like you need oxygen. Yep, I get it. I understand, but what I realized was that, after the hurricane and the lights were out for going on 3 days, it was like, I have to remember, as a shaman and spending, weeks and months in the woods, sometimes 3, 4, 5 days in a row, with very little eat or whatever, that it's the music of the universe. And that sometimes, and now look, music will set my brain in a positive thought, and I can go off on a tangent, if I'm listening to the Moody Blues or something like that, on the threshold of a dream or something like that, yay, it will take me on a journey, especially if I'm, meditating in that and I'm allowing the music to carry me out, and I've been out there many times with Moody Blues and different music as well. But to the point, I agree with you. However, for me, it was like, even though I consider myself pretty much awoke in many things, I realized that I still, even though I know this stuff, I was still not just turning up the TV or the computer for just a few hours and just listening to nothing. I always had to go turn something on. There always had to be music somewhere in the background. And I mean, I used to be a disc jockey, and I would be cueing commercials and playing a record and doing something else. And I mean records as in turntable records. I go that far back. But, literally doing three things at one time. So now it's like, the just having one thing playing in the background, the radio or music, is that, well, then when it's gone, it's like I almost go into a cold sweat. I'm serious. I mean, the hurricane was like, oh, there goes my radio. And several of the radio stations weren't playing because there wasn't power to anything, so it's like, reception was bad. And the one radio I was counting on wouldn't freaking play. So I was like, screw it. But then I started listening to nature, which is like, oh, okay. After listening to the howling winds and everything, I need to listen to the calm afterwards. And it was great. I mean, yeah, I kept wanting to, damn it, I wish I could turn on the radio. And then I was like, oh, read your book and shut up, listen to the crickets outside, be quiet, be content with the fact that we've made it through the storm, the fact that we're still breathing and, to be alive kind of thing, seriously. And to that point, I was like, well, but listening to nature again, after telling myself, oh, damn, man, I realized that I still, even with myself, there's always something on. I've always got something playing. And I was like, I need to fix that. I didn't even realize I was doing it. So we all get tricked into this. So anyway, I'm going to stop it here. Other folks are doing stuff tonight. It's 9:02 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. You folks get to fall back and over this weekend. I still haven't changed my clock since spring. It still has the same time. So I'm in my little time study here. Me and my little time bubble here at the house are still, it's 8:03 in my house because I refuse to change the time. But what was interesting today is my this phone is radio phone. Okay. These two devices, this and this, are both hooked up to the same telephone line that goes up the hill. Why does this phone not, it's digital, why does it not match the same time as my computer? I don't get this. But because I created a time bubble down here, because I created a time distortion unit, and I've reported on this before, but I looked on my cell phone today. On my house phone, and I looked and I went, damn, the time's off again. They're both hooked up to the same line. It's the same signal, but this one doesn't match the other one, and my Roku's different. Just saying, it's just a weird coincidence. But the time on my clock on the wall is still correct from last year. So I just, and it worked through after the hurricane too. I had plenty of batteries. But anyway, so I thank you for your time. I always do. Marie, I'll probably come back later on. There's something else I need to discuss in another kind of way. But have pity on those folks who have a mental disorder and the horrors of psychiatry. I mean, they used to literally, they would cut they would remove body parts to people who were sick in the head. To the point they removed ears, they removed teeth, they removed tonsils, they removed gallbladders, they removed fingers, they removed limbs of people to try to get them to not be crazy. And this is what psychiatry is based on. When you do your homework on what the psychiatrists have done to people over the centuries, for 1,000 years, they've been witchcraft practicing, hoax mongers, and I absolutely believe that these people have no feelings, because if they did, they would never do what they do to us human beings, to test us, to practice their medicine magic on. So buyer bewares, stay away from uh, neurologists and psychiatrists. I've not met a decent either one of them ever. All the doctors and lawyers and people I've met, yeah, I've met a shady one here and some good ones there, but I've never met a good psychiatrist, and I've never met a good neurologist, and I've been to many, and not one of them would I give another dime to, or or suggest that you would go to them. Ain't no way. These people are inhumane SOBs. Just saying. So, buyer beware. Prayer to take us out. I pray that every one of you will accept and receive the healings from the universe, that you and your family and all of your family members will understand that this quantum has been going on for a long time. And the more we discuss it, and the more you and I tune into it, the more we have an effect on this planet. So accept and receive the blessings from the universe, accept and receive the healings from the universe, accept and receive all the hugs and the love that I give to all of you wonderful people out there. Thank you for your prayers to me. I'm always praying for you folk, and we need to continue working together. We are making a difference. It is showing up. Folks are waking up. We need to continue to be calm, stand firm. If you have to be the adult in the room, be the camp counselor that you're meant to be. So with love to all of you, I'm going to say out of here, I got one of them butt cramps. I got butt cramps today that just won't quit. So, but love to you all, and may you flourish and be in blessings with you. So till next time, stay safe, y'all. Bye-bye.